How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is The Starks, and welcome to a brand new video. Today, I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm going to be talking about my first impressions of the game, what I think about it, how I feel about it, and yeah. So let's get started into it. So, firstly, I'm going to talk about the ratings. So, as for Steam, it has a 9 out of 10. The Metacritic score isn't actually here, but I'm pretty sure it got like an 84% on Metacritic, and a 94% of Google users actually like this game, which is cool. It came out November the 15th, so about a week ago now, and is of course developed by Respawn Entertainment under the engine of Unreal, and is on platforms such as the PlayStation 4, which I have, the Xbox One, and of course Microsoft Windows. So I'm gonna talk about my impressions, my overall feelings for this game, and what I want to see for potentially another Star Wars game. So first off, let's talk about gameplay, shall we? So the gameplay is very, very interesting in my opinion. I think it does a very good job with how it conducts itself. I see so many parallels to Uncharted, so many parallels, and I don't know if you're aware, but I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted series. I mean, really, who isn't, right? But there are some parallels to Uncharted, as well as God of War, and I find also Spider-Man. I know a lot of people have compared it to Dark Souls, but I've personally never played Dark Souls, but of course, that's their opinion. This game is challenging. It does have its challenges. A little, like I said, it reminds me of God of War, so it definitely does have its challenge. And from my understanding, God of War pulled from Dark Souls with some of its elements, which is very, very cool. In terms of story, now, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fans, so unfortunately, the story so far, it hasn't been. It's nothing special. That's for one. It's definitely nothing special for me just yet, because there's just, right now I was recruited by a former Jedi, and I'm tasked to stop the Empire once again, which seems to be a very reoccurring theme from my understanding of the Star Wars universe. But the lore is neat. I have myself very invested in the exploration. I know that's tying back to gameplay, but this is just my overall impression so far. And by the way, I do have about, I want to say 7 to 10 hours of the game, not completed, but just played, because I do a lot of exploration. I love these linear games, or games that present this linear aspect to it, and this game isn't necessarily linear because it allows you to kind of roam around and explore different planets and whatnot. I think there's about like 4 to 5 different planets, so it's very similar to God of War, but it is still very much linear. And I do a lot of exploration because there's chests you can find which have upgrades or skins. But in particular, there's some that give you like STEM, health packs, which is cool. But this game, like I said, is very challenging, and something I don't appreciate a little bit is how there's no regen system. And whenever you respawn, once you do die, enemies get respawned as well, which kind of beats the immersion of the game and the realism of it. I know I guess realistically most of the time, like enemies respawn, but I just don't like that feel, because there is no regen system, and once you use up all your health packs, and if you don't do what I did, where you explore different planets and actually build up your character, it's going to be hard to play against some of these enemy types. Another thing I didn't really like is the beginning of the game. Now, I saw on Twitter a person, I think an actor actually, or some kind of entertainment guy who stopped playing this game because he said I guess it was too hard for him. It wasn't as relaxing as you would hope it to be, and I felt that, especially the first hour of the game. I was like, whoa, this game's gonna be a challenge, and then obviously got used to it. There was a particular part in the moving train where there's like a bunch of wires in my way, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Because the game obviously provides a tutorial, how to use your basic attack, how to jump, how to maneuver your way through traversal with the little vines that you can climb up on, and I'm going to talk about the controls in just a second, actually. And then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm like, I can't go around the train box, so I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then I realized, wait, I have a lightsaber. What would happen if I just swing it? And then boom, I advanced, and I was like, okay, that's cool. But in my head, I'm like, why didn't the game provide a tutorial? And I was talking to a guy on Twitter about it, and essentially my philosophy is, well, the game presents itself as a game, of course, as a Star Wars game, and provides a tutorial how to do certain moves and features. Why all of a sudden does it fully negate that feature system, that tutorial system, and expect you to just use your creativity and imagination to just advance your way? Like, games don't do that. You look at Uncharted, that gives you a tutorial. Every time there's a new mechanic introduced, or something that you can do in the game, it gives you a tutorial of how to do it, like just a very brief tutorial, but I didn't get any instruction whatsoever, so I was unsure because I thought it was just an indestructible environment, and I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? But then I realized, okay, what would happen if I actually swung my lightsaber? So that was really interesting. I didn't like that, but it was interesting. And that's just really my only gripe, as well as the controls. I find it bizarre that every time you jump on a platform that you can climb on, you have to press a button to climb up on it. Like, I find that a little ridiculous, as well as the interact button. I don't like how it's R3. I'm used to like X, being the main button to do something. I find, or even triangle, but I find R3 a little bizarre. And I know you can change the settings, but because this game's performance isn't the greatest, I don't want to do that just in case, because it might break my game. I'm that scared because this game is good so far, but the performance is kind of awful. I noticed there's occasional frame drops, and I remember I was playing on a new planet called Castamere or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it, so pardon me, but I basically saved a bunch of Chewbacca-looking people called Wookiees, and essentially I was on like an elevator, elevator, and the game just froze, but it wasn't froze to the point where it was going to corrupt on me. It was just frozen because it had to load. I'm like, what on God's earth? And it happened like 3 to 4 times in this particular planet. So maybe it's a planet issue. I really don't know. But I was like, whoa, I think, Respawn should have taken the opportunity to really polish this game, because there are some evident or very apparent performance issues. And in terms of graphics, the graphics is pretty decent, but it's not your like very used to current gen kind of graphics. It's very like, it reminds me not of, I don't want to say like last gen graphics, but it's just not, it's not the greatest, but it's not bad either. Like, it's pretty good, but I expected a little bit more realism in the polishes of the facial detail, as well as lighting. I find lighting is just not dynamic. It just doesn't fluctuate. It's just one static dynamic. It's just one static lighting shot throughout each planet and area you go to, which I don't really like, because lighting is supposed to feel dynamic. It's supposed to feel like it kind of fluctuates here and there, and you don't really get that feel in this game. But overall, I'm really enjoying it. I really am, and This is, I'm gonna talk about my game of the year. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm gonna have 2 games that I have in my game of the year, and it sucks because I actually haven't played too many games this year. I tried to give Days Gone a chance. I tried to give Death Stranding a chance. They weren't the greatest, so But Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is definitely a contender for me, as well as another game which I'm gonna be talking about once I actually announce my game of the year video. But yeah, so overall, I definitely think that this game is fun. It definitely has some amazing exploration elements to it, and puzzles as well. Puzzles are amazing, and once you actually get the sense of what you're supposed to do, it really adds to it, and I really enjoy that aspect, because a lot of games that I'm used to, like Uncharted, like God of War, even Spider-Man to a certain degree, is great. However, I do want to talk about one more gripe, one more issue that I have with the game is its inability to reward its players greatly. And maybe I'm a little spoiled here, but what I'm used to, especially with games like this where they have chests and secrets, is that you're rewarded for the more you find, whether that be achievements or trophy systems, which isn't in this game very much. Like, Uncharted has like find 5 chests and you get a trophy, stuff like that, to make it more of an incentive for people to actually explore. I feel like this game's inability to reward its players with a lot of stuff for their exploration is a little upsetting, because there are moments where you do a puzzle or you do explore something and you end up getting like an extra health pack. But other than that, all the other chests are just customizable, just different skins and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't really a reward. Like, why did I do all this for a skin? So I feel like this game should have done a lot more to reward its players. Perhaps give us, I mean, it does, because it does definitely give us like an ability score point, which I actually didn't talk about. This game also has abilities. You have like, it's a skill tree ability where you have different areas where you can meditate in a particular spot, and you can rest, which saves your data automatically, as well as it gives you back your health packs, as well as it also respawns all the enemies, which have it as of late become very overwhelming for me, because I feel like a lot of the enemies just have this very weird design to it, because this game's, I wouldn't say it's RPG like, but it's definitely one of those games where they throw a lot of enemies at you at times, and it's very hard to manage them. So you have to be really aware of the gameplay, the abilities you have, and how to fight off essentially these different enemies. Another issue I have is the realism of the enemies as well, which ties back into just the performance and graphical side. Because I remember I was fighting one of these like horn-like creatures. I forget the name of them, but I was fighting them, or I was hitting it like 3 times with my lightsaber, and all of a sudden it would hit me back. And I think this is a scripted, like a programmed AI skill set, where after you hit it like 3 times, it automatically attacks you. So you have to be aware of that. And I don't really like that, because one, it becomes predictable, and 2, it becomes very unrealistic. But at the same time, it's not predictable, because sometimes when I do hit them, I guess maybe I swung harder than I normally would, and then they would die in one shot. So the mechanics are just kind of all over the place, I find. But I do like the game. It's fun. It's linear than Death Stranding, a game that's dull to a bone. It definitely has some elements of some very like survival and elements to it that I like and appreciate a lot. Although I wish it was a little sobered up a bit, because, like I said, there is no regen system. So if you constantly die, even if you die and you one time you respawn and your health goes down even more, and I'm like, okay, well, and you don't get back your health pack. I'm pretty sure. So I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, overall, I think this game's pretty good. I wish it was, being recognized at the Game Awards. Unfortunately, it's not, because it didn't make the deadline. But overall, I'm having great fun with this game, and I can't wait to play more tonight of it. Of course, if you're new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and stick around for future videos. And with that being said, I have been the Starks. Peace.